Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Bobby's Business Club, the chat show. Today we have one of our wonderful members on the screen you can see right now. She's going to be talking about how to create time, reduce errors, and scale profits. Her name is Nomiki Georgiadis, and she's from Business to Business Buzz. Nomiki, how are you doing? The floor's yours.
I'm good. I'm good, Bobby. Thank you.
Good to see you again.
I'm really good. It's good to see you. Yeah, look, what I wanted to do was have this discussion around systemizing your business as a busy business owner, and you know, some of the thought processes that need to go behind it, some of the things you need to consider, and why the heck this is valuable and important for your business, especially as it starts to grow, especially in team members. And you would see that when you yourself, Bobby, are busy helping recruit more team members and watching businesses grow. So if they start to grow too quickly, things can happen. So let's dive in. So this really is for busy business owners. We want to cover how to create time, reduce those errors, scale your profits, and it really is all about systemizing your business. I know it's a dry topic, but my God, the benefits are incredible. So let's go in now. Here we go. I think when a business owner has reached the point where they might have considered or thought that systems and processes being documented and used by the team might be a way forward or a way out of some of their problems. Prior to that, they usually don't really sort of sit down and do a hard reflect on the true cost of what an unsystemized business is doing to them. And the first one, the missed opportunities, Bobby, is probably like the biggest, in the sense that when a business owner is tied to the business day in, day out, they're quite often the bottleneck. People go to them for everything, or they've got, managers that are scrambling around just doing the day-to-day things, too much of it. And they don't have that time and that headspace to think more broadly. They're missing out on opportunities. They're probably opportunities are knocking on the door that they can't take advantage of because they're too busy, or they're not even alerted to those opportunities. It's not even on their radar because they don't have the time or the headspace for it to be on their radar. So that's the one thing. It could be joint venture partnerships, referral relationships, new business verticals to go down, new markets to explore, new products or services as solutions, to expand your business. But, I guarantee you there's a chunk of golden opportunities that you're probably missing out on when you're operating from a business that is just moving forward, growing, or stagnant, but in an ad hoc way. So obviously the others are, unfortunately family time gets, shrinks. Time with family, kids, partners, spouses, and then further down the line, you'll see relationships damage. That could be relationships that are personal or beyond, purely because you're putting in so much time and the business is sucking up most of your time and energy. And talking about energy, the burnout, is something that I see, unfortunately, all too often. And what's not on the screen here is what the consequences of that are. And then there's health issues. So I've had, a few business owners go, actually, we need to pause this at the moment because, we've started so late. My health has already declined. I need to focus on that now. And it doesn't have to be that way necessarily. Other costs are, if you want to travel, you want to spend some time away, go on a holiday and unwind. But, every second day on that 1 or 2 week break or slightly longer break, you're being harassed by your team. Inquiries are coming through, problems need solving that need your headspace and, you to solve them. That's no fun. So you lose your freedom, you're losing profits from running a more efficient, systemized business. And quite often, business owners, lose the love and that passion that really started them on the journey of setting up their own business. Ultimately, the worst scenario is that you've also failed, their business fails over time. So really, there are lots of costs to continuing to run a business or your business that you haven't sort of stepped back from, that you're not stepping back to systemize. And I'll introduce you to Warren here on the screen in a minute. Lovely, lovely gentleman. But there's a risk to highlight of key person dependency. So the whole point is that if you, the business owner, are, still very much involved in the business, when you're unwell, when you need to go away, if something happens, that's key person dependency, and there's a lot of risk riding in your business as to what gets done and what doesn't if something happens, but equally to your team members. So I'm encouraging you to consider leaning on your systems, creating them and leaning on them so that your business actually can scale without that single person dependency. So reason why I say that is this lovely gentleman, Warren, saw a path forward for his business. He'd had, this vision for many years, strong team of 26 people, and really had a vision to set it up for exiting, either finding an investor or selling the business. And that's to come, that's soon. We started systemising the business. He knew he was the bottleneck. He realised it. He knew he needed to do something. He wasn't quite sure. But we started extracting what was up in here, in his head, and some key team members' heads, and, basically systemising the business. Halfway through that process, we had identified a systems champion. So a systems champion is someone in the business who has a bit of a head and an aptitude and a bit of a love for systems, and is like an advocate for, let's get this on the road. Let's, document, I'll help and support you. So this lovely lady was a systems champion. She was very knowledgeable, and there was a lot of things she did on the back end that we were actually extracting from her. Well, I was extracting from her and someone else. But halfway through, this was a situation where it had been, I think, years of build-up of a situation where it was the straw that broke the camel's back. But something happened, and she gave 1 week's notice in the middle of all of this. And so Warren was left with no admin person to support the back end, all the admin activities, the booking of it's a garden maintenance business, all the bookings, all the support for the other, all the staff members and the teams that go out in the field to do the work, gone. However, we had extracted and documented the key processes that she was part of. So he was comfortable, confident. He moved forward pretty quickly, got someone else on board, and they were trained up on those systems. And he leaned on and he relied on those systems to support the workflow and to cause like minimum disruption to the business and, customer services. So, that's one, that's one reason I really want, anyone out there, everyone out there who's listening, to think about, okay, what's my key person dependency and what are the risks? Is it me as the business owner? Is it my team, my operations manager, my general manager? Who have you got on your team where if they left, that would cause such a hole and a gap in your business? And you may not be lucky like Warren. It might take you 6 months to replace them. If it only takes you a few weeks, it's probably going to take 6 months to try and get what's out here into the flow of the business so that the business again operates smoothly. So time, money, all those things are at risk. So this is bottlenecks and time, 2 concepts here wrapped into one visual. So one other point to consider or thing to reflect on is, what are the bottlenecks in the business and where are those bottlenecks? For a lot, I see it's in delivery of services or products or in operations. Sometimes it's, further up or sort of further down or across the business. But usually it's either the business owner or, again, key people who become bottlenecks. And what do I mean by that? If some information has to be passed through you, the business owner, or a key team member, and nobody else can action anything until that is ticked off, okayed, overseen by that other person, that's a bottleneck. And if that person is away on holidays, on sick leave, whatever it might be, that causes even more bottlenecks and disruptions, and the workflow, there's nowhere for the work to flow. It just clogs up. So what you want to do is identify those bottlenecks, try and figure out who are the people that, everyone sort of channels through. And then they're the points where you say, okay, that's part of the, the process and the system I need to at some point extract and document so that we can have team members accessing that process without having to go to that particular person. So it's like opening up that hourglass and letting that sand through and relieving the bottleneck. And on the flip side, we've got time. So as an hourglass and as time, you want to be mindful of, you know, opening up time for yourself as a business owner and, you know, your core team members. Again, if we're talking about general managers, if you've got an operations manager or some key team players that help you strategically in the business, what freeing yourself up does is giving you the time to actually think more strategically. So you started your business and you had a passion and a reason and a vision for it. And I hope that is still there and strong. But chances are there's a lot happening that sucks you back into, as we said, the day-to-day operations. And that is why getting that time is vital to then continue pushing that vision or reaching that goal, and then having your trusted team members and advisors help you with that strategy. But they can't do it when, you know, when they're busy doing the nitty-gritty everyday stuff as well. So creating that time creates headspace, opens up opportunities, and, you know, actually fosters creativity. So I suppose the other flip side, Bobby, is where, you know, a lot of business owners go, well, if I systemize too much, I'm going to, you know, I'm only going to, you know, attract robots that just do. No, it doesn't. And you don't want to be hiring just robots. You know, you do want people who think and who can solve problems and who can contribute. And the minute you give them systems and the business has systems to operate from, it actually frees up their time for thinking and creatively innovating. It just opens up that whole opportunity of innovation and creativity. And you need that. You need that as a competitive advantage, not only today, years ago, and definitely well into the future. Okay, so another example is Nikki Kiparissis, who's an optometrist running 2 busy optometry clinics. And when we started with her, she was the bottleneck in the business. Everyone would go to her for solving certain problems that would come up repeatedly. So these were repeated issues. She seemed to be the bottleneck. We needed to get her out. And she has, you know, some goals and visions, which I'll share as well. So what we did is we significantly reduced the staff errors. So optometrists, they have to order glasses and lenses. They specialise in kiddies eye care, really, important. But their suppliers had a very convoluted system for ordering, and somehow everyone forgot all the details to the point where errors were made repeatedly, costing the business money. And more importantly, costing those poor kids, you know, time without their glasses when they need to go to school, go to kindy and so forth. So it had significant impacts. And what we did is we reduced that significantly down to virtually nothing, because they had everything documented. Everyone could go back to the system, follow it, and there were no excuses anymore. So it was great. We also removed the bottlenecks for Nikki herself. That just, all her systems allowed her to hand off to other team members, and also to hand off directly to the system. So she was no longer bombarded. And this one's fun, because the staff actually learned to love the systems they helped co-create and to lean onto those systems. So when I went back to visit, they would come at me and say, thank you. We so love the effect, the result that we get from the work we did with you. As tough as it was, you know, we are everything just flows much more smoothly. We're all happier. We're all kinder to each other. We're not sort of finger pointing anymore, and we're just pointing to systems instead. And I go, yeah, that's perfect. So music to my ears. And also, yeah, so Nikki did obviously get that time back. So as soon as she was out of being the bottleneck, she got that time back. And she's she is nurturing those new business ventures. So they're new types of clinics to solve different eye problems for patients, needed, valuable, and valuable for her as well. So win-win. Okay, so I think there's some keys. A lot of business owners might have it on their radar to look at systems or systemize a business, get it more efficient, don't know where to start, don't know how to go about it. You don't have to systemize everything, but you do need to start somewhere. You need a starting point, because that will just make everything so much easier. And the goal is to have a core product or service that's actually deliverable without that key person dependency. So whether that's you, dear business owner, whether that's your core members, get that core product or service and make sure that you can extract those systems, operate the business from the systems, and it won't matter when the next person goes on holidays, on leave, on sick leave, or they leave the company. You are fine. The business is fine. Everyone else's job is actually secure. Okay. When the business can operate without you or without a particular person, everyone gets better job security rather than if it relies on that single person and something goes wrong. So if you stay focused on achieving this one goal of just this core product or service and systemizing that, it changes absolutely everything. With systemology, as a systemologist, there is a beautiful, elegant, proven methodology to go about systemizing. So I'll touch a little bit on define in my next slide, but there are 7 stages to systemizing a business. We start with 1, which is define. That's looking at that, what is that core product or service that generates that money? Now, stage 2 is you want to assign it to your knowledgeable people, like who are the most knowledgeable workers in the business that can, we can tap into and document and extract. And then obviously stage 3 is extract, grab that knowledge. There's, great ways to do it. And I'll point you to a resource right at the end that you can download that gives you a step-by-step. But you extract that information. And then stage 4 is you want to organize it. So you don't want bits and pieces of paper here. So Nikki, the optometrist, she tried to document and they had like PDFs, stapled here and they're outdated all over the place, not used. Okay, so you want to organize it. You want it accessible. You want it to evolve as the business changes, as technology changes. There'll be some updates and things like that. So that's the organized stage. Then there's integrate, and that's really, really important because that's getting team buy-in. That's presenting it back to the rest of your team and saying, okay, guys, here's what we're pioneering, here's what we're doing, here's what we've done. And we are moving towards, leaning on these systems and utilizing them at every chance we can. Stage 6 is scale. That means, okay, so you've gone through the core systems of how the business generates cash flow for a particular product or service, but what about all the other departments and all the other functions of the business? In order to scale, we need to systemize those parts. And then the final stage is optimize. That's the fun part. That is saying, okay, well, these work and these work pretty well, but gee, there are some gaps here or there's some inefficiencies here we could really optimize, or we need some, specialist support, say in our marketing. Let's optimize our marketing or our sales, or even, our human resources and leadership. That's your stage where you optimize. Once you've gone through that process across all the departments in the business, then you have a systemized business. Then you have a business that you can sell for a high multiple of its market value, attract buyers, hand it over to family if you're going to pass it on to family members. Whatever your exit plan is, it's good to think about it now, and it's good to prepare for it and have, a business you can hand over with systems, because your systems, they become your assets. They actually become an asset in your business. So I mentioned stage 1, define. We call it the critical client flow, CCF for short. And this is where I would sit down with you as a business owner, or you would do it yourself, and you would go through, okay, you'd identify who's your target market, what is the core product or service that core target market receives from us? How do we deliver that? How do we get their attention at the top? How do they find out about us? How do we handle inquiries and sales? How do we invoice and receive money in exchange for what we're selling? And then how do we deliver those products or those services? And what repeatable elements do we have on the back end? Once you start with this is your defining moment. This is the part that changes how your business works from here on in terms of being systems oriented. And it's really, really like this critical client flow I just showed you. It sets your business up for system success. And it's very much like, say, you've got your critical client flow systems as part of the business. You've set your dominoes up. And then the rest of the business, you're scratching your head going, oh, gee, I don't even know where to start. I wouldn't know what to do with that don't worry. Once you start with this and you tip that one domino over, the rest will flow. And that is why it's such a game changer. Love it. That's it. Let's do some questions, and I can share how I help business owners to systemize and share a resource as well. Bobby, would you like to dive into how I help business owners, or do some questions first?
Yeah, I think we should go into like how you support, the people you've supported already through what you do. I'm, as you know, already a big fan of processes and systems, and what I love about them is once you've got them written down or however you want to do them, you can really hone into those steps. As to say, you've got the 10-step process, and you can then go back and review that every couple of weeks or whatever it is. Oh, let's look at step 2. Is there any new technology that can help us? Is there a new way of doing it? And anything that's going to streamline it. Normally, if you start to streamline stuff, it means better profits because you're not spending time in places that you shouldn't be spending your time if it can be automated. And it gives so much freedom to people. We as business owners, we get freedom because we're not doing the day-to-day stuff, and it's kind of automated, or however the system works. Gives you more time, but also gives more time to the employees, the people who are dealing with it, because they're not having to, double entry stuff or whatever it might be. And once you start to set a clear path, it's easy for people to follow that path. It's when we make it so difficult for people to do their jobs that they get disheartened. Then they go and try and find another job, and then all of a sudden you're in this big kind of loop, because then people leave with all your experience, and then that's one of the biggest things that happen right now, especially in the recruitment market, is we're seeing a lot of people change jobs, and all that experience goes with that, and all that knowledge, and it just costs you and hurts you so much, doesn't it?
It does. Yes, no, absolutely. It hurts. It costs in time, money, energy, and headache. And yeah, I know, absolutely. And you touched on repeatable tasks and automations. There's another part to my business, which is marketing automation and everything that goes on the back end of marketing systems. But there's so much in the business that can be streamlined and optimized. And like you said, you might go back to it over time. And I've had, let's start with a client scenario where they're into hot tubs. They sell hot tubs, they repair hot tubs, they service hot tubs. And there's one of their scheduling systems, which one key person manages. And it is, they say it's a monster of a system. Oh, are we still there, Bobby?
Yeah, we're still here. I just stopped sharing the screen, that's all.
Oh, good. Yeah. I should exit, shouldn't I? Yes.
All good. Yeah, that's all good.
How about I exit and then I can see you?
Yeah, go for it.
That's better. Yeah. So we have their scheduling system is across spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet, run by one person, the wife of the husband of a family business with a lot of team members. And the details need to be captured, but we really, need to start with their overview system. So as you said, like you've got a 10-step process, we want the overview of, okay, you're telling me this is a mammoth monster task. Great. Let's break it down first. Let's get the overview. Then we're going to go in and get the details. And then, so ideally you want to capture what you're currently doing. So your business isn't broken, it's working. You're servicing clients, you're generating income. Capture what you're doing. And then we look at optimize, because then what's captured is going to developers who are then going to hook up, all sorts of both CRM and online, all sorts of scheduling software, do some coding on the back end, and it will be automated. So it won't be so manually intensive. It won't be so reliant on that one person. And, that's what, we need to think of moving forward. How can I streamline this? How can I make it more efficient? And if I did, that person who's spending all that time literally entering data or shifting data or doing things manually, if whatever can be automated is automated, what can that person be doing? Can you imagine if you put the brain power of that incredible person to use to say, well, what else can we do for our customers? What would streamline something else? What would reduce our costs? Increase our profits. It's so important.
And so what I'm hearing from you as a starting point for people is that we can write down a real high level overview of what our process is. So as an example, the first step for any business is a lead comes in. Okay, so the lead comes in and you then want to arrange a meeting with that person. So that might be the really the high level overview, but what's included in that meeting? Is there a request that goes out? Does that mean there's an email that needs to be created? Is there a document that goes out? Is there a reminder that goes out? What happens after the meeting? What goes on in the meeting? So all of a sudden we have all these detail that's really low level. So yeah, and we have the high level view. And is that the kind of process that you take? Is that I'm on the right line?
Yes. So sometimes we go straight into what is that system? Give me the details, because it's a fairly easy system. So if we've identified, like I showed you the critical client flow, if something is managing Facebook connection requests and messaging, it might just be, here's the message we put out, here is how we interact, and here are some sample messages to send, for example. We would just get into that. But if it's something that's more complex, if it's a whole sales process and it's more complex, and we'll break it up into the steps, the components, and then circle back and say, right, okay, what exactly do you do? What words do you use in that email? What words do you speak in that sales conversation? So we're literally extracting and documenting what a sales conversation is, especially when a business owner has never sat down to do it. Or their team hasn't sat down to do it, and they've got team members who are really good at something. They might have that skill, conversations over the phone, and therefore we want to capture that, because then that becomes the best practice for the business, so that anyone else coming into that role to support that role can say, well, here's our best practice. This is pretty much what we say, train from that, use that, leverage that.
You make a key point about using the knowledge of the people who are doing that job. Don't think that you've got to go away and go, okay, well, I've got to think of all of these processes and use the power of your employees. And the best thing that happens from that, I did it in my very first business, is when you allow someone the freedom. Obviously, there's certain guidelines you've got to go around. Once you give them that freedom, because they understand their job better than you, they can create the systems and processes that can match what they do on a day-to-day basis, not because you do it every 6 months and then you're given the advice and go, hey, it has to be this way. Well, if that person is saying we need to add this in, obviously there's a review process that needs to go through, but allow them to be part of that journey. It lets them grow with the business. It allows them to be really a part of that. And once you start to get the person's DNA into your business DNA, they don't want to go. They don't want to leave. They want to see it progress. They want to see it shine. They want to improve it. They want to see what effort they put in, how that affects the business in the long run.
Indeed, that is the most valid point, and it empowers them. So here's the thing. The systems, yes, they form an asset in your business and they support all your team, but without your team, you can't function as a business, right? Without people, the business doesn't work. And therefore, getting that level of commitment out of someone who's contributed, like I mentioned, the optometry clinic where they do. So in every situation, we go through that stage of identifying who are the best people, who are the knowledgeable workers that we can sit down with and extract information. Sometimes I've worked with some clients where it's still mostly the business owner that has to come to every session because they're still that bottleneck. They haven't let go, and there's only maybe one other person I can extract information from. But if you're at a stage where you've got great team members that really know their work, they're the ones, because they're the ones, as you said, they're doing it more often than you are, and so they should, because that's why they're employed. That's what they're hired to do, and they have that contribution and a stake in the game and part ownership for creating those systems. So it goes a long way for them to contribute, own. Then there's a review process. Either someone else can help review systems, but quite clearly, the more you involve your team, the better. And yes, you, generally speaking, don't have to be involved in any or much of the process. But if you are still the key person in the business, then there might be more involvement. But ideally, it's a two-person play. So, if you're setting this up for yourself, you want to have someone interviewing you, business owner, or your team member. Like we said about Warren's systems champion, we want to have a systems champion whereby someone will be interviewing, getting that information out, because it is a little bit tougher for that person who does things routinely day in, day out, and they kind of do it on autopilot. And they sometimes forget why they do things, and it just happens. But when they're probed, when they're asked by someone who doesn't really know what that work entails, then you get more meaningful dialogue, information, and the process extracted. So I encourage you to think about setting up one person who will champion getting the information, and then going around to every key person and extracting that information. That is a very solid way to go about doing it.
It is pretty interesting when you start to write down the steps of what you do, and because you do so often that you kind of like autopilot, and there's so many steps that go into that, and sometimes you go, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing that. Is there a better way for me to get that done? Why am I taking this document to here when it's already in here? I want to save it here. And so many things we repeat, and it might sound stupid. I did something back in corporate, and but there was something in the process that we were doing, and it saved me 20 clicks every time I did it. Right? And if that's only 20 clicks, I was like, yeah, but when I do it 100 times a week, it adds up for me.
Absolutely.
I go and do something. And so that kind of brings me on to, when we talk about systems and processes, there's multiple ways we can do this. We can write them down, we can use videos. What kind of things do you get your clients to do? What kind of examples can you give around how they can create that kind of content, not content?
Extract those systems and processes. The best way is always to have video of some sort, or if you can't, audio, right? So an audio interview is better than not, and a video is better than not. And usually if it's involved in, office and software and interacting, on a computer, that will be a screen share. If it's in the field, it might be, window cleaning client, gutter cleaning, garden maintenance. We got field videos in, and then you can either have that vocal along with the video, or just capture the video and then voice over it to say, oh, this is what we're doing here. This is standard procedure. This is for safety, for example. So always try and get some visuals, audios, visuals as in video, and then audio. And then we go back over that and literally document those procedures. So you've got a written version, and then at the end, you have something to meet all people's needs, because people, we all learn differently. Some of us are better, at reading things, hearing things, seeing things. So the more mixed media you can give someone to go through that process and to tap into it, the better. So I love screenshots. I try not to do too many if it's software that might change, very quickly. If it's, say Facebook, and someone's trying to do Facebook ads, it's like, let's get the overview first and we'll do a few screenshots, purely because that changes every so many months. But by and large, most businesses with their job booking systems, CRM systems, the way they operate their business from, most of that is fairly consistent. So screenshots, clear screenshots. I love putting, we get the team to put arrows, point to certain things so that it's a no-brainer. If I'm scrolling through this document, I can go, all right, that's where it's located. I don't have to spend another 10 minutes finding that damn button on my screen, whatever it might be. And again, if it's in-field videos, like it's absolutely priceless, to take photos and include them as well. So words, photos, video, audio, all those media. GoPros, if it means strapping a GoPro on someone's helmet or across their chest when they're climbing ladders or doing things, do it. It's like, just do it. And then you can voice over it later. It's And
if we're talking a program on a laptop or computer, and you need to show someone how to do something, yes, obviously you can write those steps down, but Zoom is a beautiful tool. You just share your screen, and you'll be amazed at how quickly it will take you just to do that recording, and then all of a sudden they've got an explanation. And even better, what I found was really cool is when we more in corporate, because obviously in the businesses that I own, it's my voice anyway, but we used to get the owners of the businesses, like real, the high up as possible, because it made it really kind of, oh my God, it's the director, or it's this person who's saying it, and you hear the voice, it has more commanding, and this is how we do this. And the chances are they don't even know how to do it themselves. We just got the script, we showed them how to do it, and they did the recording for us. And it had a more powerful impact we're talking larger businesses here, like
Yes,
50,000
yeah.
people,
Yeah.
you know, but when I did it, it made the person who's reading it or listening to it, it had more authority, because it was kind of like, okay, well, this is the business owner who's saying to do this. And it really did improve everything. It allowed me to step away. Like, I stepped away probably too far, but it was as easy as then they would turn up probably once a month and go, hey, something's changed in the process. This is what it's going to be. Can you review it? I'd review it and I say, what's the outcome? Because really the process they changed wasn't about the process being changed. It was more about what the outcome was. And the outcome would have been,
That's
okay,
right.
well, it means that we don't have to do this, this, and this. The client gets this, this, and this, rather than what we were doing before. And I go, okay, cool. The process doesn't make a difference to me because of the outcome. And the outcome was the right outcome. So whatever that process meant, that change, when we could go, okay, well, that favors the good outcome, a positive outcome. So let's go and change it. And we had this conversation earlier, didn't we, about you know, just getting things done, seeing how it works, testing it out, and then making the changes rather than trying to make it perfect, because you just can't. There's always going to be something you go, oh, I missed that part of the process where we print something or whatever. You can always go back and add it in and change it, can't you?
Absolutely. And you know, it's quite interesting. Quite often, you know, during the process, they'll go, oh, hang on, I forgot that. I go, that's okay. That's great. It's great to know. Or I made a mistake here. Okay, well, what's the best way to do it? And that's all part of the learning process. Really valuable information to share as well. So, you know, no, don't be afraid of getting started. Progress over perfection. Version 1, there's always going to be a version 1. You've got to start from somewhere. Right, and the business evolves, things evolve. So you just go back in and update as required. And more importantly, exactly what you were speaking to, Bobby, and that is, what's the outcome? You know, so does that mean I have 1 click instead of 20 clicks? You know, does that mean I'm not opening, you know, 3 or 5 spreadsheets up, but I'm operating from a piece of software now instead? That's your optimize. That's the like next level. You go back and you go, okay, where are the inefficiencies? Where can we do better? Where can we save a bit of time? What does that mean? Do I need experts to come in, and do I need a web developer or a coder or something, whatever it is? But, you know, you have a much clearer understanding of what your processes are because they're documented, and then where the inefficiencies are that you can start to improve. And that just increases profits. Like it's,
And if it's not profits that you're looking for, you want more time back in your day. Now, I say this a lot of time, but I was speaking to someone and they said, oh my God, you're a serial entrepreneur. And I was like, I see myself as a serial, getting myself a job, my own job, working my own businesses. An entrepreneur to me is somebody who has businesses that kind of, they run on their own. You've got people running them. And he said, well, what's your goal? What's the goal of it all then? I said, well, for me, I want to be able to sit on a beach or go and do something and not have to do anything with my businesses, because they're systemized, they're people running them, they're doing what they should be doing. And we can't do that without systems and processes, because we can't just turn around to someone and go, hey, here's a client to go and recruit for, Mr. New Person, and then just leave them. I've been to many businesses that do that. And they're kind of like, well, I don't know how to use this. And all it does is just leave a bad taste in their mouth. But for you to be free in that sense, systems and processes, some people want to be that needed person and they need that. And that's totally fine. That's how you want to run your business. But what about the employees? What about their freedom? What about their drive and their wanting to improve things? And so it's not always about what we want as a business owner. Also, we're just going to have a high turnover of staff if we keep piling on pressure and the systems are all over the place and we're not using a proper process. It can be really frustrating when you go, oh, why wasn't that done? Well, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. And you're like, really? Oh,
I didn't know it wasn't even it was a step I needed to do. It is those things. And you've got incredible a wealth of experience in your business and what you've set up and what you've done and like just and systemizing, like you just know it, you get it. But yeah, there are some business owners who feel the need to still be involved, and I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you have to sell your business or exit it at that point. It's really a case of having that flexibility and that opportunity. And also, I mean, there's an example where it was two sisters who set up a doggy daycare center. One of the sisters walked out saying, you know what, it's not for me, left the other sister there 7 days a week, 24/7 dogs, almost 24/7, whatever it was. She hired someone as a manager to support her, but it was still full on. But she worked with David, the owner of SYSTEMology. They systemized everything. She got down to 3 days a week, and she thought, this is something valuable I've built. I wonder if, it's saleable at this point. She'd sort of started to put her feelers out. And then she was very quickly tapped on the shoulder by a national pet store company in Australia saying, we love what you've done. We'd love to buy it. Don't sell it to anyone else. We've got it. And they just popped their franchise model over all her systems and took it away. And she got an awesome price. She, I don't think she had quite planned that at the beginning. She just wanted to set up a business with her sister, right? But, it evolved, and you don't know what those opportunities are that might knock on your shoulder. And gee, wouldn't it be nice if for some reason it made sense to say yes to an opportunity like that? And you could say it. So, they're the benefits, whether you want to sell it or not. I love freedom. I love time. I love spending time with my loved ones, family, and doing my own thing. So yeah, having a system that can work and operate without you to a degree, for me, is definitely valuable.
Before we wrap up, I'm going to drop you in it a little bit here, but can you give us 3 tips around systemization and processes for your business?
Well, one is, don't think you have to do it all. So we've covered that. Like, you can leverage your incredible, knowledgeable and experienced workers. Get them to take what's out of their head. Now, if you're still the bottleneck, you're going to have to do some of that input. But the second tip is get someone, find a person or hire a person who is a great systems champion, and that can be on a part-time basis. It doesn't have to be full-time, but they'll come in and they'll partner up with everybody on your team, and they'll extract and document those processes. And the other one is start with what we call the critical client flow, and start with what are the core systems that generate cash flow for the business. Start with those, how you market, how you sell, how you service those customers and clients. And that is your starting point. Don't try and start with every single product and service. Don't try and start with your finance division or even management and leadership. No, because if you can relieve the bottlenecks, and if you can minimize that risk of key person dependency on how the business makes money, then it will continue to make money while you systemize the rest of the business. So they're the important things. And then have a system, a methodology for systemizing the business. And I've got a resource to share with you if you want to grab that, download it. It's a step-by-step way of how do you go about doing this, and how to reference the review of systems and things like that. It's a system for creating systems. So tips.
Perfect. And if you need to learn more about systems and processes, you can reach out to Nomiki. All of her details are in the description of this video. Of course, you can reach out to me if you would like me to do an introduction to Nomiki. She's also a big networker, so it's not always just about systems and processes, it's also about connecting people as well. So I highly recommend having a one-to-one at least, and learning more about Nomiki, and also how she helps her clients in more detail. But Nomiki, thanks for jumping on. I'm always blown away about systems and processes, and I think we all need them in every part of our life. And if we do that, it means we have more time, and we can produce better content, or we might have better family time because of it. And it could be just a structured weekend that we have every Sunday. We make sure we do this, we do this. And I have that all through my week to make sure that I can have as much freedom on the weekend as I possibly can. But Nomiki, again, thanks for coming on and sharing your knowledge. It's been great to hear more about what you do, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Pleasure. You're welcome. Thank you, Bobby.